such a great time that thank you all for being so good to me tonight. It's a weeknight, isn't it? Shit. Right? Right, thank you. I'll tell you a little story. You might have heard me tell this story before. And it ain't that. It's probably might not be exactly the same as it was last time. It doesn't make me a bullshitter. It makes me an artiste. But sometimes, man, I think about this a lot when I'm singing, because I feel so fortunate and grateful that this is what I get to do, and this is not really the life that anybody's parents would want them to have. And this is not, you know, when you're young and start talking about it, no parent ever goes, yeah, folk houses, fuck yeah. Man, yeah, great idea. I don't know if that's ever been said. You know, the life that was planned for me was really different. Before I was even old enough to think about it, I had been told that I really liked football. It took me till I was about 17 to realize that actually my dad really liked football. He saw us as sort of this way to continue to play. And my brother really excelled at it. And I wanted to be accepted, and I wanted to please my parents. So I tried as hard as I could, and I wasn't great, you know, not very fast. I don't care about a lot of things, which apparently is a big part of the competitive thing. But by the time I was a junior in high school, I was on the varsity football team at Beaverton High School. We were called, honest to God, we were called the Beaverton Beavers. We took a lot of shit for that from the other students. That was something they'd make fun of us for. But we was on this team, right? And I'm not saying that, like, I was a guy that played a lot or did a lot of shit out there when I was out there, but I was on the team, and I would imagine, in fact, I would almost hope that most people that go to folk concerts weren't on any kind of football team. You know how it is. But just for those of you that have not done this thing, let me tell you what I did. I can do it in just a second. It's you and 45, this is what happens if you decide you're going to be on the high school football team. Because they can't cut you, they got to let you on. So you sign up, and you got to go out there with like 50 other guys every day for like 2.5 hours for like 4 months. You have to get after school and take off your comfortable stuff, put on uncomfortable stuff, and run, go outside. It could be cold as shit, hot as shit, they don't care. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna run into and away from each other, all in relation to the movement of this ball, while consistently being yelled at by adults. Now, sometimes we did it right after school, sometimes we would go to a different school and do it later at night maybe, where people came. Sometimes we would have other schools come to our school, but and they would turn on a board, but for the most part, it was just, you know, kids running into each other in these uncomfortable outfits. And my parents, I would say, what is this? You know, they'd say, you're representing the district. And I was like, what is a district? How come why don't you represent the fucking district? I like the outfit I wore to school, you know? I didn't know there was a district, let alone it was up to me to sort of win it for everybody in this fucking outfit with my friends. Nevertheless, I'm doing it, I'm a kid, I'm doing what I'm told, so there's this thing, football practice. You think that's where you practice football. It's not exactly like that. So you go out, and there's this one thing that you do that every team's ever have done it, is they have this sled where there's like 6 kind of padded areas, and then this guy stands on the back of it, and you line up, and they go, hike, and then you push this fucking thing, while this guy yells at you to push it faster and harder. And it never ever, if you watch football on TV, never happens in the fucking game. There's never a point where like, oh shit, the sled's out there. What are we gonna do now? That never fucking happens. There's never a moment where 6 guys go, fuck, we gotta push that out of here right away. There's a whole lot of shit to remember, and I didn't have any of it. And I thought, this is a waste of my fucking time. Not only that, but I'm standing in line waiting to push something. I didn't have to be older than 17 to feel like, I don't want to wait in line to push things as I get older in my life. So I'm standing there in line waiting to push this fucking thing, and I see across the field there's all these other kids that have on the same stuff they wore to school. There's girls talking to them. They're smoking cigarettes, which I had been told was terrible, but man, they had on their normal clothes and they were talking to girls, and they were not waiting in line to push shit off. So I asked this guy ahead of me who was a little bit older, I said, hey man, what's those guys? He said, that's the burnouts. I said, what's a burnout? He said, they hang out in the smoke pit. I said, what's the smoke pit? He said, well, that's where the burnouts hang out. I didn't know any more than I started, so I went into the coach and I said, Coach, what's a burnout from the smoke pit? And I remember he looked up real quick, just his face changed, and he said, oh, Snider, man, I hope you don't turn into a burnout from the smoke pit. Look at them, they're like these dirty, he said, I'm not trying to disparage anybody, kid, but look at them, they're these dirty sheep standing around in the field doing nothing, man, you don't want to be that. And I thought, all right, okay, you stay away from them kids. So I did, and then one day I was going to get my food at the cafeteria. I had no choice but to sit next to this kid that I clearly recognized as a burnout from the smoke pit. I had to sit next to him. So I sit next to him, we start talking to each other. He seemed like just as nice as any other kid I've met in the school. And then he said to me, hey, Snider, man, have you ever tried psychedelic mushrooms? And I said, no, I haven't. And he said, would you like to? And I said, sure, yeah, let's do it. So he gives me these mushrooms, and I eat them. And about a half hour later, I knew there was no way that I was going to be able to go to football practice after school that day. Not a chance. So instead of going to practice, I went with my new friend to the smoke pit where the chips were and the cigs were. And for the first time in my life, I could see from a distance this life that had been planned for me. There they were, the football team, lining up to push this thing to get ready to win district. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody either, brothers and sisters, but they could have arguably and easily been described as a bunch of dirty sheep standing around in a field doing nothing. Just as I was taking that in, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, kind of like the first way I saw Elvis, I saw that the goalposts had turned into candles. And I knew that wasn't something that they did. And then I noticed that they turned into Roman candles and started going in the sky. That's fucking good, man. How come that hasn't happened before? And then I look over at my friends lined up to push this sled, and as God is my witness, nobody could make this up. The sled had morphed into Fred G. Sanford from that hit situation television sitcom Sanford and Son. And he was holding his chest like it was the big one, and they were pushing him, and as they pushed him, he morphed into Jesus Christ himself. And I remember thinking, hey, that's a little sacrilegious, maybe you should not do that. And just as I was thinking it morphed into a different guy, but he had a robe and sandals and a beard and all this shit, kind of like a guy who might have hung out with Jesus in the day. And he made eye contact with me. There was no killing it. He yelled across and said, hey man, do you have 2 10s for a 5 or 2 quarters for a nickel? Can you get to Arthur Butler? Do you know how to get there, or can you even get there from here? And as I took that in, I knew in that moment, brothers and sisters, that I was never ever going to go back to football practice again for as long as I was going to be alive. I'm going to go to band practice. You can tell when you feel it. I'll tell you this, while I still root for Coach Boyer and the Beavers because I think, A, this could be the year that we win district, but more importantly, we got the coolest goalposts in the whole fucking state. And now, my friends and neighbors, that I'm so grateful to stay with me tonight is the touching story of how I went from the scoreboard before and became the peace-loving, pot-smoking, porn-watching. Conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight white American male. Gay fashion, black fearing, bullfighting, tree killing, regional leaders of sale. Shirt tucking, frat house, and kick tapping, backslapping, haters, hippies like me. Tree hugging, peace loving, pot smoking, porn watching, lazy ass hippies like me. Tree hugging, peace loving, pro-choice and gay wedding, widespread panic making hippies like me. Skin color blinded, conspiracy minded, protesters of corporate greed. We have nothing and most likely will till we all end up locked up in jail. By conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight white American made. They know boys and girls we're living together in two separate worlds, following leaders up mountains of shame, looking for someone to blame. I know I like to blame. Conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight white American male. Soul-saving, flag-waving, rush-loving, lamb-paving, personal friends to the whale. Father John Lee worked so hard to keep the free reins of this democracy. From tree hugging, peace loving, pot smoking, porn watching, lazy ass hippie